Swami. Yatyastamat Yatyasmat Swayamapi Atma Harihi Atmavatma Swamayarimetavaditi na Veda Anandava Even the Supreme Soul Hari, does understand the movements of his Maya, which means potential. Yet Yasmat Swayamapi Atma Hari Atmavatma Swamayarimetavaditi na Veda Anandava. Even the Supreme Soul Hari, he does not understand the movements of his Maya to be this much only, because his Maya is unlimited. Maya here refers to his potential. अतो ये तु चिन्त्यत्वेन एव निश्चिन्वन्ति तेषाम् अन्यान् प्रति मोहिनां अन्यान् प्रति मायिनां मोहकारिणाम् अपि भगवतः माया मोहिनी भवति तथा अतः कारणात् माया मायामपि मोहिनी साधनान्वयः. Those people think that the supreme person can be understood by thought. They are also bewildered by Bhagavan's Maya. She bewilders them. Atah karana tan Maya Mayinam api mohini iti sarthena. So even though they are
भगवत्यत्र भगवती इति क्वचित् पाठः. In some readings, instead of Bhagavato or Bhagavatah, it is Bhagavati. Achintyatvameva darsyati yadyati sarthakena. The second half of the verse points out that Bhagavan is achintya by nature. Yat yasmat swayamapi atma vartma swarupa aishwaryam na veda. Because the Supreme Lord himself does not know, even though he is omniscient, about the extent of his Swarupa Aishwarya, the opulence of his Swarupa, na parichinnati. He does not know the limit of it. Anantatvat, because he is unlimited. Ataha tasmai nama eva kevalam. Therefore, one should simply offer obeisances. Atmatattvam janantah अन्यानपि व्यापयन्तः दार्शनिकाः बहवः एव दृश्यन्ते. But we see that there are many people who know about the truth of the Supreme Soul and they make others also know. So many philosophers are there. Anticipating this, atraha atayiti. This verse is अतः कारणात् तन्माया मायिनां बोधयेषु शिष्येषु मायामेव अर्पयताम्. For this reason, the people who are trying to help their disciples or students understand are actually offering them their bewilderment, and therefore they are considered to be mayinam. They are referred to by the word mayinam, jugglers. तेषामपि मोहिनी निश्चयेन एव मोहिनी मुहुः अपि संसारेषु पातयितुमिति भावः. Maya is a mohini. She is certainly a mohini for them. In other words, she again wants to make them fall into the cycle of birth and rebirth. यतः स्वयं आत्मा परमेश्वरः अपि आत्मवर्त्मा स्वस्वरूपं न वेदं जानाति. Because the Supreme Soul, which means the Supreme Lord, He himself does not know his nature. Apare varaka kimuta jani. Then how can other wretched souls ever know him? The froggish philosophers and mundane wranglers in science and mathematical calculation may not believe in the inconceivable potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but they are sometimes puzzled by the wonderful jugglery of man and nature. Such jugglers and magicians of the mundane world are actually puzzled by the jugglery of the Lord and his transcendental activities. But they try to adjust their bewilderment by saying that it is all mythology. There is, however, nothing impossible or mythological in the supreme omnipotent person. The most wonderful puzzle for the mundane wranglers is that they remain calculating the length and breadth of the unlimited potency of the supreme person. His faithful devotees are set free from the bondage of material engagement simply by appreciating the wonderful jugglery of the supreme in the practical faith. The devotees of the Lord see the wonderful dexterity in everything with which they come in contact, in all circumstances of eating, sleeping, working, etc. Wonderful dexterity means wonderful intelligence and application. A small banyan fruit contains thousands of small seeds, and each seed holds the potency of another tree, which again holds the potency of many millions of such fruits as causes and effects. So the trees and seeds engage the devotees in meditation about the activities of the Lord, while the mundane wranglers waste time in dry speculation and mental concoction, which are fruitless in both this life and the next. In spite of their pride in speculation, they can never appreciate the simple, potent activities of the banyan tree. Such speculators are poor souls destined to remain in matter perpetually. 40. Yato prapya nyavartanta vachascha manasasaha aham chanya ime deva tasmai bhagavate namaha. Words, mind, and ego, with their respective controlling demigods, have failed to achieve success in knowing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, we simply have to offer our respectful obeisance unto Him as a matter of there's a question here. How do I? Achyutanam Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. No, Prabhu, in this translation, when it is said that the Lord, the all-potent Lord, is unaware of his potency, this point was not becoming clear to me. How it can be unknown even to Lord.
No, He is unlimited. So He does not understand any limit to His unlimited potency. Because there is no limit to His potency.
But then,
why are you echoing? Am I only hearing the echo?
leave Gauranga.
Wait, what happened?
It will not echo, Prabhu, now.
Okay.
If then some person says that then there is one thing which Lord doesn't know. He doesn't know the limits of his potency. Like the
If
Mensa
something
question which
does
they
not
asked to
exist,
Prabhupada.
if something does not exist, how can you know it, even theoretically? Anyone, whether you're omniscient or non-omniscient, how can you know something which does not exist?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu.
यस्य ज्ञानाय प्रवृत्ताः वाचः अपि मनसा सह तम् अप्राप्य एव न्यवर्तन्त दुर्गेयत्वात्. Even speech, along with the mind, which are engaged to attain knowledge, without attaining Him, turn back. Durgeyatvat, because he cannot be understood. Na kevalam vangmanasi is not simply speech and mind. Aham, ahankarasya adhisthata rudraha api. Aham here refers to the ego. Ahankara, actually the presiding deity of Ahankara, Rudra. Ime, Indriya Adhisthata Araha, Devaha, Anyecha, as well as the other presiding deities, the presiding deities of the senses. Tam eva vishnashti yat iti nivartanta iti kvachit pathaha. Nivartanta. Instead of nivartanta, nivartanta. Meaning is almost the same. There's a variant reading there. Sararthadarshini ataha durjeyatvamev sthapayan namaskarotu. So, while establishing that the Supreme Lord is Durjeya, cannot be understood, meaning cannot be understood fully, he offers his obeisance. Aprapya, antam alabdhva yataha sakasham nivartate. Without having not attained a limit, vachaha, must be nivartante. Spell name must be. Speech without attaining the limit of the Supreme Lord returns. Samashti vyashtinam sarvesham api vagindriyani manasa saha iti manamsi cha. Both in general and in particular, all kinds of descriptions by the vocal faculty along with the mind, they return. Yadva, alternate meaning. Brahmanaha mukhat nirgataha sarve vedaha eva vachaha. Speech refers to the Vedas, which have come out of the mouth of Brahman. So, speech originally refers to Vedic speech, the speech of the Lord himself. Tasya eva manasa saha aham ahankara adhisthata rudraha ime devaha brihaspatyadeha cha yataha nivartante. So, though that Vedic speech itself, along with the mind, along with Rudra, who is the presiding deity of false ego, along with the other celestial beings, such as Brihaspati, they turn back. Kutaha, why do they turn back? Prapya, yat nama rupa charitra adinam samyak madhurya grahana asamarthyat. Because they are incapable of completely grasping the sweetness of his name, names, forms, pastimes, etc. Aparanam tesham antaprapta samarthyatcha. Whereas they are capable of reaching the end of these features for others. This is the meaning. Ityartha. Shruti api achaste. The Shruti also says, Yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasasaha. Taittiriya Upanishad 2.4.1. From whom speech turns back along with the mind, not having attained any limit to him. अत्र अपादाननिर्देशे एव वाङ्मनसंश्लेषप्रत्यायकः निवृत्तिः तु अनन्तत्वेन प्रमातुम् अशक्यत्वादिति ज्ञेयः. सर्वथा एव वागादि अगम्यत्वं तु आत्मनः न व्याख्येयम्. It should not be understood to mean that speech and so on do not at all reach him. It is because he is endless. It is impossible to measure him. This is the point. Vedesya sarvairahameva vedyah iti manasa eva anudrashtavyam etat ameyam dhruvam tad vishnoh paramam padam sada pashyanti surya ityadi shruti virodha apatte. Because there are statements in the scriptures Vedesya sarvair ahameva vedyah. Through all the Vedas, I alone am meant to be known. So that means Veda actually reaches to him. Otherwise, how is it possible to know him through the Vedas? One should see him through the mind. Manasa eva anudrashtavyam. One should perceive him in the mind. Etad ameyam dhruvam. This absolute truth is immeasurable. Then there are also other Shruti statements. The associates of the Lord constantly see the supreme abode of Lord Vishnu, that supreme abode of Lord Vishnu. So here you see their sense of seeing, they're reaching out to the Supreme Lord's position. So if one were to say that speech and other sensory faculties cannot at all reach out to him, then that would contradict all these statements, including the Shruti statement. The froggish calculator may raise the objection that if the absolute is unknowable even by the controlling deities of speech, mind, and ego, namely the Vedas, Brahma, Rudra, and all the demigods headed by Brihaspati, then why should the devotees be so interested in this unknown object? The answer is that the transcendental ecstasy enjoyed by the devotees in delineating the pastimes of the Lord is certainly unknown to non-devotees and mental speculators. Unless one relishes transcendental joy, naturally, one will come back from its speculations and concocted conclusions, because he will see them as neither factual nor enjoyable. The devotees can at least know that the absolute truth is the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu, as the Vedic hymns confirm. Om Tad Vishnu Paramam Padam Sata Pashyanti Surayah. The Bhagavad Gita 15.15 also confirms this fact. Vedesya sarvair ahameva vedyah. By culture of Vedic knowledge, one must know Lord Krishna and should not falsely speculate on the word aham or I. The only method for understanding the supreme truth is devotional service, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita 18.55. Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavanischasmi tattvataha. Only by devotional service can one know the ultimate truth, that the ultimate truth is the personality of Godhead, and that Brahman and Paramatma are only his partial features. This is confirmed in this verse by the great sage Maitreya. With devotion, he offers a sincere surrender, Namaha, to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavate. One has to follow in the footsteps of great sages and devotees like Maitreya, Vidura, Maharaj Parikshit, and Shukadev Goswami, and engage in the transcendental devotional service of the Lord, if one would know his ultimate feature, which is above Brahman and Paramatma. 7. Further, chapter 7. Further inquiries by Vidura. 1. Shukavacha. एवं ब्रुवाण मैत्रेयं द्वैपायन सुतो बुधः प्रीणयन्निव भारत्या विदुरः प्रत्यभाषत. Sri Shukadeva Goswami said, O king, while Maitreya, the great sage, was thus speaking, Vidura, the learned son of Dvaipayana Vyasa, expressed a request in a pleasing manner by asking this question. Saptame samshaya chhedi pratinandyam muner vachah punah kshatra kritabnana prashna samyak udirita. In chapter 7. After hearing the speech of the sage, which destroys all doubts, Punakshatra Krita Nana Prashna, Vidura asked further questions and he clearly articulated them. Just 1 minute. 1 minute. I just need to check something now. So, Vacho Nivartante. Okay. अथ चे भगवल्लीला योगमायोपबृंहिताः इत्यादिना मायागुणैः लीलया भगवान् सृष्ट्यादि करोति. So the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are enriched by his Yoga Maya. 3.5.22 said that. So from that we understand that the Supreme Lord, Bhagavan, he engages in the activities of creation, maintenance and annihilation as a sport using the qualities of Maya. Evam Brahmanam Maitreyam Bharatya Prarthana Rupaya Prinayan Iva iti Abhipraya Agyanena Akshepa. In this way, he satisfied Maitreya, congratulated him using words of prayer. It is implied that he did not understand the Abhipraya of Maitreya fully. Saptame Bhagavad Jiva Gata Anyat Samshaya Chida Bhakti Jigyasaya Anihapi Chatuhu Prashnaha Prakirtita. In the seventh chapter, is this correct? The original. Sure, that's correct. This is 3.7. Bhagavad Jiva Gata Anyat Samshet Shida Bhakti Jigyasaya Anyepi Chatuh Prashna Prakriti. How does he interpret this? Right. ये सप्तम अध्याये संशय छेदिका भक्ति जिज्ञासा द्वारा भगवान और जीवगत विदुरेर अन्नान्न प्रश्न सकल कीर्तित हुई. In this seventh chapter, through various inquiries about bhakti, which destroy doubts, Vidura brought up various questions regarding Bhagavan and the Jiva. These questions are described here. Evam Sava etasya sandrashtu shakti sadatmatmika Maya nama mahabhaga yayedam nirvayabhu kalavrityatu mayayam gunamayam adhukyaja purushenatma bhutena viryamathat viryavan इत्यादि ब्रुवाणम भारत्या ब्रह्मं स्वया संसारकूपाद उद्धृत एव अहम् इति मधुरया वाचा प्रणयन् इव. So he had made statements about Maya in chapter 5, text 25-26. So he had also spoken very sweetly. Vidura had spoken sweetly that I have been saved from the well of samsara chakra. इति विदुर मनोगत आक्षेपस्य सहसा एव मैत्रेयेण अवगतत्वात् Maitreyam prinayatum ashaknuvan ityartha. And Maitreya understood what was in Vidura's mind. Sri Shukadeva Goswami said, O king, while Maitreya, the great sage, was thus speaking, Vidura, the learned son of Dvaipayana Vyasa, expressed a request in a pleasing manner by asking this question. 2. Dhruvacha. Brahman katham bhagavatas chinmatrasya vikarinaha leelaya cha api yujyeran nirgunasya gunah kriyah. Vidura said, O Brahmana, since the Supreme Personality of Godhead is a complete spiritual whole and is unchangeable, how is he connected with the material modes of nature and their activities? If this is his pastime, how do the activities of the unchangeable take place and exhibit qualities without the modes of nature? Nirvikarasya kriya, nirgunasya cha gunah katham. How is it that the untransformed is engaged in activity and the one without any guna has gunas? Leelaya iti uktihi prayojana abhavam pariharati. There is no personal motive for the Lord to engage in these activities. Leelaya cha api yujyeran. The Supreme Lord engages in these activities, Leelaya, by his pastime. Now, vastu virodham iti bhavaha. अथ स्वाभाविक माया शक्तिया परमेश्वर विश्व सृष्ट्यादिकं करोति जीव च तत्र मुह्यति इति उक्तम्. So far it has been stated that the Supreme Lord Parameshwara, using his natural Maya potency, engages in the activities of creation, maintenance, annihilation of the Vishwa, the universe, and that the Jiva is bewildered while all these processes are going on. Tatra sandeham prashna uttarabhyam pariharti. So then comes about a doubt, which is now removed through a question and answer. Brahman ityadina, from text 2. Hey Brahman, O Brahmana, चिन्मात्रस्य चिन्मात्र स्वरूपस्य स्वतः स्वरूप शक्तिया भगवतः श्री वैकुंठ आदि गत तादृश ऐश्वर्य आदि युक्तस्य अतः एव निर्गुणस्य प्राकृत गुण अस्पृष्टस्य ततः एव अविकारिणः तादृक् स्वरूप शक्ति विलास भूतानां क्रियाणाम् अनन्तानाम् अपि सदा उदित वर अनंत विध प्रकाशे तस्मिन् नित्य सिद्धत्वा तत्तत् क्रिया आविर्भाव कर्तुः तस्य अवस्थान्तर प्राप्तत्व अभावात् प्राकृत कर्तुः इव न विकार आपत्तिः इति. Here particular words have been used by Vidura which have particular significances. Chinmatrasya, of the complete spiritual whole. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is a complete spiritual whole. This indicates that his entire Swarupa, his entire nature is fully spiritual, and that he functions through his personal potency, Bhagavataha, of the personality of Godhead, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bhagavata, literally Bhagavataha means of Bhagavan, which means of the one who possesses opulence, which indicates that he is endowed with the opulences that are appropriate for his spiritual abode of Sri Vaikuntha, etc. Therefore, he refers to him using the word Nirgunasya, who is without the modes of nature. He is beyond the modes of nature, which means that he is not touched by the qualities of material nature. Tataiva, and for that very reason, he uses the word avikarinaha. of the unchangeable. He is unchangeable, which indicates that even though he engages in unlimited activities, which are actually manifestations of the various ports of his personal potency, and he is engaging in these activities in various spiritual manifestations, which are eternally manifest. It's not like the material world where the manifestations are temporary. And there, in that region, he is eternally existing. And he is revealing various activities there. But those activities do not attain other types of natures as we see in material existence. So there are no degrading transformations like with personalities who engage in activities in material existence. Nirvikarasya cha katham sattva adaya prakrita gunaha. Since he is not subject to any degrading transformations, how is it that he possesses material qualities? Sattva-guna, Rajo-guna, Tamo-guna. Katham va tat asanga hetukaha stityadaya kriyascha yujyera. And then how can activities which are connected to these modes, such as maintenance, creation, and destruction, be engaged in by him? Tatascha chinmatra vastu virodhadeva te cha tascha na yujyante. Because they are not spiritual entities. So how can they be connected with his activities? How these qualities and activities can be connected? Bhagavat vetu swaira cheshtaya apina yujyera. Even by his own whimsical endeavors, they would not be connected. Lilayava api. Atra avikaritva nirgunatvabhyam saha chinmatra bhagavatvam cha iti ubhayamapi svikritya eva purvapakshina prishtam. So now this is brought up as an objection, this question. He is avikari, untransformed. He is nirguna, beyond the modes of material nature. So he is purely spiritual Bhagavan. This is accepted in this objection. ततः च तस्य चिन्मात्र स्वरूपस्य भवतु भगवत्वं तन्मात्रे अस्माकं न सन्देहः. I have no doubt that Bhagavan is entirely spiritual in nature. Kintu tasyam katham itar gunadi svikara yujyate. But how can it be reasonably said that he accepts the qualities and activities of something which is separate from him? Ityeva prichyate iti vakyartha. This is what is said here. Chinmatrasya guna sattvadeya kriya srishtyadayascha katham. How can one who is fully spiritual possess qualities such as sattva guna, engage in activities such as creation? Atra chit rupasya chinmayasya iti adikam aprayujya chinmatrasya इति अवधारणवाची मात्र शब्द प्रयोगात् अचित गंधस्य अपि तत्र राहित्यं बोधितम्. Now here Vidura did not use the word chidrupasya. He did not use the word chinmayasya. He did not use expressions like these. Chidrupasya would mean that Bhagavan has a spiritual form. Chinmayasya would mean he is spiritual. Instead, he specifically uses the word chinmatrasya. Now, matra indicates that he is only spiritual. So from this, he conveys the fact that there is not even the scent of anything which is not spiritual in him. Tatascha sa va etasya iti anena sattvadigунमय्या माया भगवत् शक्तित्वेन उक्तत्वात् शक्तेश्च स्वभिन्नत्व असंभवात्. And then you have the situation that sattva and sattva-guna, rajaguna, tamaguna are part of Maya. Now, Maya has been stated to be the potency of Bhagavan. And the potency, and it is not possible for that potency to be separate from him. Vastutaha gunaha tadiya eva iti tasya chinmatratve katham sattvadik jada gunavatvam. So in reality, the gunas belong to him. He states that. And then if he is only spiritual, then how is it possible that he possesses material qualities such as sattva-guna, rajaguna, tamaguna? Sattvadi jana guna vatvecha katham chinmatratvam. And if he possesses these material qualities of sattva-guna, rajaguna, tamaguna, then how can you say that he is only spiritual? Iti akshepaha ekaha. This is one objection. तथा विकारः हि कालहेतुकः गुणधर्मः एव इति तस्य तु जन्मातत्वात् एव अविकारित्वे. Okay, then we come to another point regarding vikara. Vikara means change. In the Vedantic literature, change refers to degrading changes, degrading transformations. Degrading transformations are caused by time. Actually, degrading transformations is a feature of the gunas caused by time. But Bhagavan is exclusively spiritual, and if he is said to be beyond the degrading transformations, katham vikara vyanjaka kriya vatvam. Then how is it that he is engaged in activities? What? He is engaged in activities. He possesses activities which imply degrading transformations. Kriya vatvecha katham avikaritvam. And if he possesses activities, then how can you say that he is not subject to degrading transformations? Iti dvitiyaha akshepaha. That's understood. This is the second objection. Nanu, objection. Evam asambhavantaha api gunaha kriya cha tasya swairalilatvat sambhaveyihu. If you were to say, this is an anticipated objection. If you were to say that even though it is impossible for him possessing gunas and kriyas, the modes of nature and the activities of nature, because he engages in swaira lila, he engages in pastimes as he wishes. Would it not be possible? Traha, anticipating this objection, he uses the words lilaya va. Nahi lilaya iti uktya virodha parihartum shakyate. You cannot escape from this objection, this contradiction, by saying it is his pastime. Tasya tadrisha lilatve gunavatvasya dushpariharatvad iti bhava. The implication is, in this particular pastime of the Lord, it is impossible to get rid of the fact that he possesses these gunas. These gunas mean these gunas of nature, material nature. अत्र भगवतः इति विशेष्यं भगवान् एव चिन्मात्रा न तु भग इति वाच्यं यतः भगस्यापि भगवत्वं प्राकृतत्वं विष्णुपुराणे दृष्टं यथा. Now, the subject matter is Bhagavan, and Bhagavan is entirely spiritual. That Bhagavan is the possessor of opulences. That is why he is called Bhagavan. Now that Bhaga also has the nature of Bhagavan. That Bhaga, it is also aprakrita. It is non-material. This is seen in Vishnu Purana. Jnana Shakti Balaishwarya Viri Tejam Sasheshataha Bhagavad Shabdavacyani Vina Heyer Gunadibhihi iti. So, Jnana, knowledge, Shakti, potency, Bala, strength, Aishwarya, opulence, Virya, prowess, Tejamsi. Brilliance. Asheshatha, to an unlimited extent, they indicate, they refer to the word Bhagavan, but without qualities and so on which are meant to be given up. अतएव देहदेहि विभागोऽयं नैश्वर्ये विद्यते क्वचिदिति उक्तम्. अतएव भगशब्दवाच्यानां षडैश्वर्याणामपि चिन्मात्रत्वमेव न तु सत्त्वादिगुणपरिणामत्वम् इति भगवत्वं स्वरूपलक्षणमेव. Therefore, there is a scriptural statement. In this Lord, there is no distinction between the body and the body and the soul of any type. There's no such distinction at all. And it is for this reason also that the six opulences, which are referred to by the word Bhaga, are exclusively spiritual. And that Bhagavan is not subject to the transformations of Satoguna, Rajoguna, Tamoguna. This is his Swarupa Lakshana. This is his personal characteristic, direct, primary characteristic, intrinsic characteristic. Bhagavattvasya mayikatve tatastha lakshanatvam iti vyachakshana bhranta eva. Those who were to say that Bhagavan being Mayik is this marginal characteristic are bewildered. Indrasya maya iyam iti indraha mayaya vrishabha bhavati iti ukte indrasya vrisharupatvam eva so maya kritam pratiyate natu indratvam yatha तथा एव स्य इयं भगवतः माया इति भगवान् एव मायया विश्वं भवति इति उक्त्या भगवतः विश्वरूपत्वमेव मायिकं स्यात् न तु भगवत्वम् इति उक्तेश्च. If you were to say that, for instance, when Indra by his mystic potency becomes a bull, and if you were to say this is Indra's Maya, then what is understood from this? It is understood that Indra has taken on the form of a bull. In other words, it is created by his Maya. Not that that bull itself is Indra. So like that, this is Bhagavan's Maya, which indicates that the Supreme Lord he assumes the form of the universe by his Maya potency. Not that the universe is itself Bhagavan. So there's a logical reasoning behind this statement here of Vidura. As described in the previous chapter, the difference between the super soul or the Supreme Lord and the living entities is that the latter are bewildered by the cosmic manifestation the Lord creates through the agency of his multifarious energies. The Lord is therefore the master of the energies, whereas the living entities are subjugated by them. By asking various questions about the Lord's transcendental activity, Vidura is clearing the misconception that when the Lord either descends to the earth in his incarnation or appears himself with all his potencies, he too is subjected to the influence of Maya, just like an ordinary living entity. This is generally the calculation of less intelligent philosophers who consider the position of the Lord and that of the living entities to be on the same level. Vidura is hearing the great sage Maitreya refute these arguments. The Lord is described in this verse as Chinmatra, or completely spiritual. The personality of Godhead has unlimited potencies to create and manifest many wonderful things, both temporary and permanent. Because this material world is a creation of his external energy, it is temporary. It is manifested at certain intervals, maintained for some time, and again dissolved and conserved in his own energy. As described in the Bhagavad Gita 8.19, Bhutva Bhutva Praliyate. But the creation of his internal potency, the spiritual world, is not a temporary manifestation like the material world, but is eternal and full of transcendental knowledge, opulence, energy, strength, beauties, and glories. Such eternal manifestations of the Lord's potencies are therefore called nirguna, or free from all tinges of the modes of material nature, even up to the mode of material goodness. The spiritual world is transcendental even to material goodness and thus is unchangeable. Since the Supreme Lord of such eternal and unchangeable qualities is never subjugated by anything like material influence, how can his activities and form be conceived to be under the influence of illusory Maya, as is the case with the living entities? A juggler or magician displays many wonders with his acts and arts. He can become a cow by his magical tactics, and yet he is not that cow. But at the same time, the cow displayed by the magician is not different from him. Similarly, because the material potency is an emanation from the Lord, it is not different from him. But at the same time, that manifestation or potency is not the Supreme Lord. The Lord's transcendental knowledge and potency always remain the same. They do not change even when displayed in the material world. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord descends to the earth by his own internal potency, and therefore there is no question of his becoming materially contaminated, changed, or otherwise affected by the modes of material nature. The Lord is Saguna by his own internal potency, but at the same time he is Nirguna because he is not in touch with the material energy. The restrictions of the prison house are applicable to prisoners who are condemned by the king's law. But the king is never affected by such implications, although he may visit the prison house out of his good will. In the Vishnu Purana, the six opulences of the Lord are stated to be non-different from him. The opulences of transcendental knowledge, strength, wealth, fame, beauty, and renunciation are all identical with the personality of God. When he personally displays such opulences in the material world, they have no connection with the modes of material nature. The very word Chinmatra Tva is the guarantee that the Lord's activities are always transcendental. Even when displayed in the material world, his activities are as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. Otherwise, liberated devotees like Shukadeva Goswami would not have been attracted by them. Vidura inquired how the Lord's activities can be in the modes of material nature, as is sometimes miscalculated by persons with a poor fund of knowledge. The inability, the defect of the material qualities is due to the difference between the material body and the spiritual soul. The conditioned soul's activities are displayed through the medium of the modes of material nature and are therefore perverted in appearance. However, the Lord's body and the Lord himself are one and the same. And when the Lord's activities are displayed, they are certainly not different from the Lord in all respects. The conclusion is that persons who consider the Lord's activities material are certainly mistaken. 3. क्रीडायाम् उद्यमोर्भस्य कामश्चिक्रीडिशान्यतः स्वतस्तृप्तस्य च कथं निवृत्तस्य सदान्यतः क्रीडायाम् उद्यमः अर्भस्य कामः क्रीडिशा अन्यतः स्वतः तृप्तस्य च कथं निवृत्तस्य सदा अन्यतः. Boys are enthusiastic to play with other boys or with various diversions because they're encouraged by desire. But there's no possibility of such desire for the Lord because he is self-satisfied and detached from everything at all times. Okay, there's a question here.
Prabhu,
Yeah.
will the answer be coming in future verses of the question which was raised that if Lord is Chinmatra, then how is it possible for him to possess material modes?
Yes, it will come.
Okay.
अर्भकवत् लीला अपि न युज्यते वैषम्यात् इत्याह उद्यमयति प्रवर्तयति इति उद्यम. You cannot say it is like the sport of a child because an endeavor is needed for a sport. अर्भकस्य क्रीडायां प्रवृत्ति हेतु कामः अस्ति. There has to be a cause for the sport of a boy. That is his desire. अन्यतः तु वस्तु अन्तरेण बाल अन्तर प्रवर्तनेन वा तस्य क्रीडा इच्छा भवति. Either that desire comes from him or it's coming from someone else, some other boy, by the inducement of some other boy. Then he develops a desire to play. ईश्वरस्य तु स्वतः तृप्तस्य कथं कामः? But how is it possible for the Lord who is satisfied with himself to have a desire? अन्यतः सदा निवृत्तस्य च असंगाद अद्वितीयस्य कथम अन्यतः चिक्रीडिशा. Because he does not associate with anybody else, he is not having anyone as his second, meaning he does not have a rival, he does not have anyone literally equal to him. Then from where is his desire to engage in this sport? This is the meaning. ततः चिन्मात्रत्वे भगवत्वे च तस्य तुच्छा गुणा क्रियाश्च न संभवन्ति एव इति विगुणीभूय एव प्रश्नः. And then the next question. Oh, this is Paramatma. Let me just move on. If Bhagavan is entirely and exclusively spiritual, then there should be no possibility for insignificant, the insignificant qualities and insignificant activities to be a part of him. Leelaya va api katham yujyeran. How would he be connected to activities? How would he possess activities? That is now elaborated in this current verse. अविकारित्वादि तत्तत् उत्कर्षहीनस्य अर्भकस्य चिक्रीडिशा रूपः कामः. ताभ्याम् अन्यस्य क्रीडायाम् उद्यमे हेतुः भवति. The desire to play in a boy it becomes that is actually the cause for his various endeavors to engage in sports. Bhagavata tu svena atmana swarupa vaibhavena च तृप्तस्य. Bhagavan is self-satisfied, which means he's satisfied by himself or he's satisfied by his personal plenary expansions and so on. Ateva vanyata sada nivrittasya. And the Supreme Lord is constantly disconnected from everything else. Katham asau anyataha jiva jagataha cha nimitta chikridisha sambhave. Then how is it possible for him to develop the desire to engage in the sport because of anyone else? Anyone else means due to some jiva or because of this material universe. So how is it possible that he had the desire to engage in this particular sport of creation, maintenance, annihilation? Chakravarti Thakur. Moreover, kincha Lilaya iti uktya virodha pariharha mastu. No, the contradiction is not destroyed by simply saying that it is his pastime. Lila eva tavad ishvare hetu abhavat na ghatatte iti sadrishtantavaha kridayamiti. That lila, the sport or pastime, that cannot be a cause. With an example, he then points it out in this current verse. Kridayamiti. Udyamayate pravatayati iti udyama kama eva arbhagasya swabhavikaha kridayam pravritti hetuhu asti. When you consider a boy, young boy, he engages in sports. First of all, that desire is very natural for him to engage in sport. तथा अन्यतः बालान्तरप्रवृत्तनोऽपि चिक्रीडशा अस्ति. Now, that desire to play might have been induced by someone else. Parameshwarasya atmaramatvat katham kamaha. Parameshwara, the Supreme Lord, is an atmarama. Then, where is the question of desire for him? Ishwarantara abhavat. Because there is no other God other than him. Katham anyataha chikridisha. So, from where is this desire to engage in the sport coming from? Anyone else? From who else is coming? Ityaha. Swataha triptasya ityadi. Anyataha nivrittasya. Anyarahitasya. There is nobody else. He is self-satisfied. So, from where this desire is coming? Since the Supreme Personality of Godhead is one without a second, there is no possibility that anything besides him can exist. He expands himself by his energies in multi forms of self-expansions and separated expansions as well, just as fire expands itself by heat and light. There is no other existence besides the Lord himself. The Lord's association with anything manifests his association with himself. In the Bhagavad Gita 9.4, the Lord says, Maya tatamidam sarvam jagad avyaktamurtina vatsthani sarvabhutani chaham teshu avastitaha. The complete manifestation of the cosmic situation is an expansion of the Lord himself in its impersonal feature. All things are situated in him only, yet he is not in them. That is the opulence of the Lord's attachment and detachment. He is attached to everything, yet is detached from all. Four. Srakshit Bhagavan Vishwam Gunamayatma Maya. Taya samsthapayatyetad bhuyah pratyabhi apidhasyati. By his self-sheltered potency of the three modes of material nature, the Lord has caused the creation of this universe. By her, he maintains the creation and conversely dissolves it again and again. Yachoktam smaran vishwasrajamisho vigyapitam adhokshaje ityadina avidya upadhehe jivasya bhogartham ishvara srishtyadik karotiti. We know from 3.6.1 that Ishvara creates, maintains, annihilates this world for the experience of the jiva who accepts avidya as his upadhi, as his second nature, you can say. I think I've given this example before. Upadhi is explained in Vedanta Darshan. In a particular sense, if you have a transparent crystal and you keep a red flower next to it, then the transparent crystal also appears to be red. So the redness of the transparent crystal is considered to be its upadhi. This is what is meant by material designation, extrinsic designation that appears to be intrinsic. So avidya has been accepted as an apparently material, apparently extrinsic, apparently intrinsic, but factually extrinsic designation for the jiva. Designation or feature, we can say. Tadapi akshiptum manuvadati. But now this current verse is an objection to that even. This verse is not an objection, but he's going to bring about an objection to that. Therefore, first of all, he repeats what was stated in 3.6.1 here. Srakshiditi, Gunamayi, Atmanaha Jivasya Kartatva Bhaktuttvadi Moha Utpadikaya Maya Taya Srishtava. The Supreme Lord creates this world using Maya. And what does Maya do? She generates the delusion that the Jiva is the sole responsible agent, that the Jiva is the sole experiencer, and so on. In this way, Maya is Gunamayi. So even though the Jivas belong to the Supreme Lord creates this world using this Maya. Taduktam Prathame, that was stated in the first canto. Yaya sammohito jiva, atmanam trigunatmakam, paropi manutenartham tatkritam chaabhi pradyate ityadina. Atra cha atom bhagavato maya mayinama vimuhini iti samsthapayati. It was also stated in 3.6.39. Samsthapayati palayati pratyapi dhasyati pratilomyena tirohitam karishyati. Pratyapi dhasyati means he conversely dissolves them. That means the process of dissolution happens in a sequence that is opposite to the sequence of creation. Pathantarena pratilomyena atmani abhitaha dharayishyati. There is also a variant reading for that last word, which indicates that he is the one who brings about everything that has been created back into him in reverse order, the sequence being opposite to that of creation. न च तस्य ते गुणाः ताः क्रियाः च न विद्यन्ते इति अपलपनीयम्. You cannot say that those qualities and those activities are not existing in him. Tatraiva prasiddhe, because it's very well known that those activities and those qualities are found in him. This is conveyed in the current verse, asrakshi iti. Gunamaya, Traigunya Vyanjinya, Atmashritaya, Mayaya, Samstapayati, Palayati. The Supreme Lord, he protects this world, creates this world, protects this world, and so on, using Maya, which is described here as Gunamaya. Gunamaya is derived from the word Gunamayi, she who reveals the three gunas. So the Supreme Lord, he uses this Maya, who has taken shelter of him, to bring about this protection, creation, protection, and dissolution. Pratilomyena tirohitam karishyati. Na cha tasya te gunaः kriyascha na santi itya palapaniyam tathaiva prasiddhe. Asrakshit pratyabhi dhasyati pratilomyena tirohitam karishyati. This cosmic universe is created by the Lord for those living entities who are carried away by the illusory thought of becoming one with Him by imitation. The three modes of material nature are for the further bewilderment of the conditioned souls. The conditioned living entity, bewildered by the illusory energy, considers himself a part of the material creation due to forgetfulness of his spiritual identity, and thus he becomes entangled in material activities life after life. This material world is not for the purpose of the Lord Himself, but is for the conditioned souls who wanted to be controllers due to misuse of their God-gifted minute independence. Thus, the conditioned souls are subjected to repeated birth and death. 5. Deshatah kalatah yosav avasthatas svatonyatah aviluptavabodhatma sa yujyeta jaya katham. The pure soul is pure consciousness and is never out of consciousness, either due to circumstances, time, situations, dreams, or other causes. How then does he become engaged in missions? We will come back to this a little later. एतच्च जीवस्य विद्या आश्रयत्वे घटेत न तु तत् संभवति विद्याः. All of this can happen to the jiva who is under the control of avidya. It would not happen to him. योऽसौ देशादिभिर् अविलुप्त अवबोध आत्मा जीवः ब्रह्मस्वरूपत्वात् स कथम् अजया विद्यया युज्येत. Here the word atma refers to avabodha atma, refers to the jiva who, because he has the nature of Brahman, actually his consciousness is not covered by circumstances, time, and so on. So, katham ajaya avidya yujeta, how would he then be connected with avidya? The idea is that it is opposite. They are of two opposite natures. Tatra deshatah deepa prabhaya iva lobha nasti. Just as the illumination of a lamp goes away, the jiva's consciousness does not go away. Sarvagatatvat. Everywhere there are jivas. न कालतः विद्युत एव नित्यत्वात्. Lightnings appear and disappear. But that's not the case with the living entities because they are eternal. Now, asthatah smritivat avikriyatvat. Avikriyatvat. One cannot say that it is due to a different status that brings about all of this changes in the intrinsic nature of the jiva. Just like memory, it is not transformed. Na swataha swapnavat satyatvat. It is not by the jiva himself. Because it is real, like a dream, but it's real. Na anyataha ghatadivat advitiyatvat. He does not have anyone like him. So it's not comparable to a pot and so on. Evam etaihi yasya bodha na lupyate sa katham ajaya yujyeta. So if his consciousness cannot be taken away by all of these, then how can he be made to commune or unite with the unborn material energy? Acha, acha, atra avidya eva na maya. Here, this refers to avidya, not maya. Tasya avabodhena virodha bhava. Jiva Goswami. Jivasya katham maya mohitatvam ghateta iti akshepa antaramaha. This is another objection. How can the jiva become bewildered by maya? Yoso deshadavir avilupta avabodha atma jiva sa katham ajaya avidya yujyeta tatra deshe vyavdhanata deshegata devasita va chakshu prakashaiva. There would be no problem caused by space or any interruption due to space or any defect due to space. For instance, the eyes can see only under particular spatial circumstances. Kalatah vidyudiva, avasthatah smritiriva. For instance, vidyut, lightning flash. It appears and disappears. So it has something to do with time. Then there is the consideration of circumstance, like memory. Swataha, chittir, nijatameva. And there is also another consideration that it could be naturally the living entity. Naturally, the living entity would not have anything to do with avidya, like the silvery nature of a conch shell. Sometimes a conch shell might appear to be like silver when you notice it from a distance under certain circumstances. But that is not the case. Anyatah ghatadi vastu eva na tasya avabodha lupyate. So under no circumstances is consciousness itself taken away. Avyahata swarupa bhuta jnana ashrayatva, because he is the very shelter of his very natural intrinsic knowledge, consciousness, which cannot be taken away from him. जीवस्य च कथं माया मोहितत्वं घटेत इति आक्षेपान्तरम् योऽसौ नित्यज्ञानत्वात् देशादिभिरविलुप्त अवबोध आत्मा जीव. The Jivatma eternally possesses consciousness. His consciousness is not disturbed by desha, kala, and so on. Tatar deshata, ushara deshata uktam bijamiva, kalata vidyudiva, avasthata smritiriva, swataha swapnaiva, anyata ghatadariva, yasya chid vastutvad avabodha na luptaha bhavitum arhati. Because he is spiritual, so it is not, it is not possible for its consciousness to be taken away from him, or to be that consciousness to be destroyed. So katham avidya vilupta bodha kriyate. Then how is it that avidya brings about a destruction of his knowledge? The pure soul is pure consciousness, never out of consciousness, either due to circumstances, time, situation, dreams, or other causes. How then does he become engaged in nescience? The consciousness of the living being is always present and never changes under any circumstances, as above mentioned. When a living man moves from one place to another, he is conscious that he has changed his position. He is always present in the past, present, and future, like electricity. He can remember incidents from his past and can conjecture about his future also on the basis of past experience. He never forgets his personal identity, even though he is placed in awkward circumstances. How then can the living entity become forgetful of his real identity as pure spirit soul and identify with matter unless influenced by something beyond himself? The conclusion is that the living entity is influenced by the avidya potency as confirmed in both the Vishnu Purana and the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam. The living entity is described in the Bhagavad Gita 7.5 as Paraprakriti, and in the Vishnu Purana he is described as Parashakti. He is the part and parcel of the Supreme Lord as potency and not as the potent. The potent can exhibit many potencies, but the potency cannot equal the potent at any stage. One potency may be overcome by another potency, but all potencies are under the control of the potent. The Jiva potency or the Kshetragya Shakti of the Lord has a tendency to be overpowered by the external potency, Avidya Garbha Sangya. This is from Vishnu Purana. And in this way, he is placed in the awkward circumstances of material existence. The living entity cannot be forgetful of his real identity unless influenced by the avidya potency. Because the living entity is prone to be influenced by the avidya potency, he can never equal the supreme potent. Okay, question.
Prabhu, in purport to verse number 4, when this desire to control was mentioned, so how is it wrong for a conditioned soul, for a soul, any soul, with a desire to control something? Like, what is wrong in that?
Because the souls are meant to accept their position as the controlled, not to be a controller. So it is in opposition to his constitutional position. Therefore, the problem.
So if such desire comes in spiritual world, like directly he comes immediately to material world, or there is some other process of rectification also?
First of all, even the living entity who is placed in material existence is first of all given the post of Brahma. Brahma, the very post of Brahma is a service post. So he comes to this world with a desire to serve the Lord with some ability to control. So he wants his private space. That is our problem. We all want our private space. Along with service to the Lord. Okay, so we'll stop at that.
And then this,
Yes.
like
Yes.
this private, I keep on expanding my private space and service to Lord keeps decreasing, and then I get entangled.
That's how we get entangled. That's how we get entangled. Therefore, in the three tracks, the first track is to reverse that process. You go back into reducing your private space and you move all the way up to Brahmaloka, and along with Brahma, you get liberated.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Track 2, track 3 are for those who are willing to surrender to the Lord fully. Okay, we'll stop with that. Anshagapatravya Shri Kripasindu Ptitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaha.